So this Charlie Kirk situation just keeps dragging on. Like, Jimmy Kimmel was fired for a joke he made. But interestingly enough, the president just made a joke about Charlie Kirk as well. But I don't think y'all are going to be asking that he get impeached or something like that, right? But let's take a look at what Jimmy Kimmel said and the president said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Listen, so to be fair, it was a good joke, but to be fair, those pictures of the guy that did this unaliving, they were photoshopped. So we don't truly know his political affiliation. Some pictures had him photoshopped with MAGA stuff on. Some pictures had him photoshopped with Democratic stuff on, but they were fake pictures. We don't know which side his political views rested on, right? But everybody's trying to make it one way or another. But regardless, it was a joke. And it wasn't a joke about Charlie Kirk. It was a joke about the guy who did this and the president, right? But I'm just saying, jokes aren't allowed. The president had a joke. Let's hear that one. And ironically, his was directly about Charlie Kirk.
Charlie said, that there was no such thing as hate speech. He obviously, no one anticipated what happened to Charlie, but you have always been.
So let me get this straight. Kimmel got canceled for not even joking about Charlie, just mentioning it, but this Trump can literally make a joke like he won't want to be saying that now. He does not give a flying about Charlie Kirk, bro.
So listen, he doesn't care about Charlie Kirk. Like, he fly the flags, have staff, and all of that. Yeah, okay, he did that, but it's like you ask the man about it, and he can't even stay on topic for 2 seconds before he starts talking about the construction at the White House. Like, he doesn't care, but then he's trying to forcibly make the rest of the world care. Like, listen, we do have compassion. Like, nobody wanted Charlie Kirk to pass in this way. Like, we didn't want this. We didn't ask for this man to be unalived in this way, but this idiot who chose to do it did it. You know what I'm saying? But it's just, you're mad at some people because they remember some of the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk was pushing.
I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. The Civil Rights Act was a mistake.
More cops should be around your neighborhood. Why do blacks have a broken family?
White person were to come up and say, black America really needs to get its act together and stop sleeping around all the time, and it needs to actually have enough.
Why would you?
Because it's true.
When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Black America is worse than it has been in the last 80 years. What percentage of young blacks have both a mom and a dad raising them?
Of course we pandered to blacks. They're in every TV commercial.
And they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously.
If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action?
And that's just a few clips of some of the stuff that he said over the years. But it's like, now that people remember some of this rhetoric that he's been spitting all these years, and then unfortunately he's unalived, people are not as sad as you would want us to be about his unaliving. And so now that these people are not as sad as you would like them to be, you're trying to forcibly make them care more. Listen, It's a national holiday. They trying to make this, I believe, into. All right, let's look at this.
By now, you have likely already heard about the Senate unanimously passing a resolution for October 14, 2025 to be Charlie Kirk Remembrance Day. That's because it's Charlie Kirk's birthday. Coincidentally, that's also George Floyd's birthday. So here's what we're going to do. Echoing the same spirit of the statement released by the Congressional Black Caucus, in which they point out Charlie Kirk stated that the 1964 Civil Rights Act was a mistake, and that how they pointed out his attacks on black women, and how they don't have brain processing power, and how this resolution from the Senate is declaring Charlie Kirk to be an American hero. In that same spirit, on October 14th, we're going to have a George Floyd remembrance rally on George Floyd's birthday. We're going to remember him on his birthday. We're going to remember that in this country, the reason that we're here is because of white supremacy, and we're going to elevate black voices. Listen to the speakers I've already confirmed. George Floyd's sister, LaTanya, will be joining us. Jacob Blake's father, Jacob Blake Sr., will be joining us. Breonna Taylor's aunt, Bianca Austin, will be joining us. Fred Hampton's son, the chairman, Fred Hampton Jr., will be joining us. They'll all be speaking on stage, and I got many more speakers to come. October 14th at the National Mall. Be there. Clear your calendars. George Floyd Remembrance Rally.
And so, as you can see, they're already making his birthday a National Remembrance Day. Or like black folks do not get awarded this same type of stuff after we have dealt with tragic situations like George Floyd being unalived in the manner that he was unalived. They wouldn't think about giving that man a Remembrance Day. You understand what I'm saying? But just to show you the hypocrisy of how they are all so adamant about, let's not make fun of this situation, and this is serious, and no, anybody says anything about this, you're fired, you're canceled, right? But when it came to black folk being made fun of, George Floyd being made fun of, people rocking the Skittles t-shirts and all of that with Trayvon Martin, you know what I'm saying? People openly made fun of us for tragic situations with black folk, but never did we get the same treatment as far as, everybody should be canceled for saying stuff like this. Let's go to Khalil Green to take us down memory lane on some of these situations.
So, I haven't really heard anyone say this, but the callous memes and jokes about Charlie Kirk's are a direct byproduct of the Didn't Do Nothing era. And if you don't know what Didn't Do Nothing means, then you need to watch this video. And if you do, you should stay because a lot of this will resonate with you. So let's rewind to the early 2010s. Imagine you come home, you turn on the news, and you hear about Trayvon Martin, who was a 17-year-old that was shot and killed by a vigilante while holding a bag of Skittles. Or you see the footage of 12-year-old Tamir Rice, who was shot and killed by police while holding a toy gun. Or Eric Garner being choked to death while saying that he couldn't breathe. Or Sandra Bland, who was wrongfully arrested and later found dead in jail. For many of you who were adults at the time, the tragedy and horror, as terrible as it was, pretty much ended there with the killings themselves and reconciling the injustice that happened. But the rest of us, Gen Z and millennials, who were mostly children at the time, the killings were just where the trauma began. Because that's when the internet exploded with the most shocking and vile memes and jokes about these people who had just died. And the Didn't Do Nothing meme was practically the face of this era. It was a ignorant and purposely fake African-American English way of saying he didn't do anything. As a way for online trolls and racists to mock grieving black families who claim that their loved ones were unarmed and undeserving of death. But make no mistake, it was not just this one meme. There was actually a whole ecosystem of cruel and edgy content that was meant to desensitize people and normalize making fun of black people dying. For example, this was a trend called Trayvoning, where white teenagers would dress up in a hoodie and lie face down with Skittles and a can of soda to mock the way in which Trayvon Martin's dead body was found. And more recently, we had the George Floyd challenge, which is pretty self-explanatory. This sort of online cruelty was foundational for the alt-right pipeline, with no regard for the families of the victims of police violence and little regard for the facts. And this dehumanizing content was born in the dark corners of websites like Reddit and 4chan, but what started out as edgy jokes in those places spilled over into YouTube comments, Facebook threads, and eventually mainstream conservative discourse. And while Charlie Kirk may not have been at the beginning of this phenomenon, nor was he necessarily the furthest right, he absolutely benefited from its culture and actively participated in its expansion. He spread content that told lies and was meant to smear figures like Breonna Taylor and George Floyd soon after, if not immediately after, they were killed. And just to add on to that, a lot of people are focusing on only the direct quotes from Charlie Kirk himself, but that leaves out the organization that he founded and just how badly it contributed to this issue. Now, back then until now, many activists have said the solution is to teach people about why it's wrong to dehumanize others and implement stronger and smarter content moderation against hate speech. Instead, right-wing voices and Silicon Valley executives called that woke and just tore down all the rules. Of course, this made things worse and fueled even worse radicalization. For example, I recently wrote about the George Droid meme and how crazy and depraved this culture of mocking death had become in the wake of recent changes on platforms that allow unfiltered hate speech. But all of that fell on deaf ears, of course, until now. But I want to make something very clear. It is definitive that this morbid internet culture originates on the right. More specifically, the meme lords of 4chan and Reddit, the politicians and public figures that normalized and emboldened them, and the social media companies that make money by fanning the flames of all of this. And that has radicalized and desensitized both sides of the political spectrum. And we tried to warn you before it backfired. But that's all I can fit in this video. If you want my full essay on the topic, go to my Substack at historycan'thide.com. Or if you're on Instagram, just comment the word newsletter below to be DM'd a link.
So by all means, please go and check out this young brother's full essay on this and support, comment, follow him. You know what I'm saying? All of that. He put together a great piece of work right here. But I just want to show you his video to remind y'all of how insensitive the world was and still is when it comes to black folk. When it comes to black folk, listen, multiple people have been found hanging from trees in like the past couple of weeks. One of them was deemed a suicide. You know what I'm saying? They never give the same outrage. And part of it is us black folks, because we don't command the same respect as other races do. You dig what I'm saying? When folks say something about the Jews, they adamantly. But we kind of do our own dirty work for us. So we got to admit that. So let's stop with the degradation in everyday life, the music, and the way we talk to each other, and the way we act towards each other. You understand what I'm saying? Like, because it's not cool. I just seen a video where a man down on his luck was gifted $100,000 and a brand new truck. You know, because he was going through stuff. He was about to pawn his watch. About to pawn his wedding ring. And a man, a YouTuber, faked that he was blind and asked for some help. The guy helped him. And then this was his payback. The guy paid him, gave him $100,000, right? Shortly after that, the man was robbed and put in the trunk of his car, and the car was burnt up. You know what I'm saying? Almost killed the man. It's like, man, we can't have nothing, man. Because of our own. So we got to start respecting each other better. We got to start showing the world how to respect us, but we got to show through our respect towards each other, man. We got to be better to each other. And we got to command more respect from the world when they disrespect us. Meaning we can't keep disrespecting ourselves through our music and all of this stuff. And just in general. And then when they disrespect us, we got to draw a strict line and say, cut it out right now. But this your boy P Camp. Let me know what you think, what you don't think. Get at your boy.